Hello, everybody, and welcome into another playoff preview here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and we are into the second round now. First round went pretty quick. There were some longer series. There's going to be at least one at this point, Game 7. There might be another one as we're going here, unless the Jets can close it out tonight as we're recording. But we've got a second round matchup set here with the Washington Capitals, Carolina Hurricanes. I welcome back Chris Babos and Zach Martin for the second time this year. Chris, how's it going?
I can't complain. Team you're covering still around in the playoff hunt. It's a good time to be alive.
For sure. And Zach, you're here again. Last season, we had you in the second round as well. Hopefully, we'll have you for a third time. But how's it going?
Going good. I think at this point, Matt, we should just designate our watches to at least being here twice. So it's kind of nice. But honestly, I mean, whenever you're talking hockey, especially playoffs, how can you not be excited? It's it's the best time of year. It's you can have Christmas and all that. Give me playoff hockey. It is it should be its own holiday. Honestly, let's just give us paid time off for 2 months and just watch hockey. I would have no argument with that. That's how great it is.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, playoff hockey is the best. I'd say, unfortunately, the Canucks are a bit of a mess right now. So, I mean, I don't know how long before I'll be able to be on a playoff preview show again. Not being the host, but actually talking about the team I cover. But right. I digress. So let's go and get into this preview, and we're going to talk about the Capitals' journey to the second round first here. And Chris, I mean, they started, playing against Montreal Canadiens. They got maybe a bit of a scare there. I mean, the Canadiens did play them pretty tight, and they did win a game, and looked like maybe they were going to win a couple more, make it a longer series, but didn't. I mean, the Capitals ended up being the stronger team and did come out of it. So what do you think about their first round against the Canadiens?
I thought that the Canadiens tested them really, really well. A really good first round matchup to make sure that the Capitals were in it through and through, whether it was, the feistiness from Tom Wilson or, the back and forth with just horrible penalties at times. You're like, man, you can't take that call there, and it impacted both teams, which you would kind of expect that more from a young Montreal team, and I felt like they I wouldn't say baited Washington because both teams played extremely physical, but it was one of those that a veteran team like Washington. I think after the opening games, they kind of settled into it. Across that series, realistically, there was one game that was a big scoring occasion for Montreal, and they put up 6. Every other game that they were under 3. So that's really going to be a test for Carolina, is the goal scoring. And, if Washington's defense is able to kind of shut things down like they did for the vast majority of Montreal's lineup, it should be a fantastic series.
For sure. I mean, even though it's a 5-game series, that series is really exciting to watch throughout. I mean, lots of great skill for both teams and a very physical series as well. So, I mean, yes, it was 5 games, and you're just looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, Capitals dominated 5-game series, but that wasn't the case. It was a really good and tight series, and we'll see how Montreal they gained a lot throughout that first round, and the Capitals probably learned a bit about themselves too to go against a team like that. And now they're going against the Hurricanes, which, I mean, much higher caliber team, and we'll see how they contend with them. So moving on to the Hurricanes, Zach, I mean, another 5-game series against the New Jersey Devils. I think a tighter series too than what that 5 games looked. But the Hurricanes again came out of it. What do you think about their first round?
Yeah, it was definitely really contested. I mean, even with all the injuries, I mean, you still got guys who can score goals. You got Dawson Mercer. You still got Nico Hischier. There's still some dudes who can do their job. And even on the defense side of things, I mean, you still had Brett Pesce, who was there, still causing issues. I mean, former Hurricane Steph Nason was in that series too. And let's be honest, the goaltending is completely different to what we saw in 2023 in round 2, where it was you're just basically everything was going on the net on those guys. But now you got Jacob Markstrom, who was basically, he looked unstoppable even in game 5, even with giving up, had to force it a double overtime. But yeah, it was definitely a lot closer series, which was very crazy to look at. And like I said, you're like 2 double OTs and all that stuff. And pretty much the only game that the Hurricanes lost was in that double overtime in game 3. Other than that, I mean, Carolina, scored 4 in game 1, scored 3 in game 2, scored I think it was 5 in game 4, and then 5 again in game 5. So I mean, if you're talking goal scoring, Carolina, when they're rolling, and the thing that really helped, because I know Matt, when we talked the round 1 preview, what was the big questions? Can you win on the road, and can your power play get rolling? Well, they won on the road because they took game 4, and their power play, how about 6 for 19 for 31%? Like, you will easily take that for a team who finished 25th to be 6th best in the first round. Oh, and their PK, only team in the first round to go a perfect 15 for 50, or 100%, because they went 15 for 15 against the number 3 power play without Jack Hughes in the Devils. So I think the Hurricanes, while it was close for a couple games, they definitely showed that while they're a good 5-on-5 team, the things that were the question marks really came out to play in this series for sure. And it doesn't hurt when Andrei Svechnikov gets a hat trick in game 4, and then you get Sebastian Aho with 2 power play goals in game 5. So, yeah, a lot of the big boys stepped up, and you got depth scoring on top of that too. Plus, special teams are, as they say, very special right now for the Canes at the right time.
For sure, and we'll get into that's probably going to be talking about in our next segment here, and that is storylines coming into this series. I mean, both teams, with special teams, like you said, Zach, and we'll go off that. Is probably your biggest storyline. Is that the Hurricanes' power play and penalty kill were both big things in the first round. It's going to be another. I mean, we always talk about special teams being big in the playoffs. Yeah. Is that your biggest storyline going in to this series, or you have some other ones?
I say it's definitely one of them too, because I mean, like I said, you go 6 for 19 on a team that was, like I said, 25th when you ended the regular season, and now you're top 6 out of all the teams, and yeah, you're rolling right now. And the crazy part too is, like, Sebastian Aho scored 3 of the 6, and 2 of them came in game 5, which was the 4-4 game tire and the 5-4 double overtime, because Jesperi Kotkaniemi took a stick to basically the eyeball, which, if you've seen photos, it is like his eye is swollen. Like, he took full stick to the eye. But that's the thing. Like, they got rolling there. PK, I mean, you're looking at Tim Gleason, who runs the penalty kill unit. And even when he played, he was a shutdown guy. And it goes to show how good they've been playing as well. But I would either say other storylines too. Like I said, you got depth scoring everywhere. You got Taylor Hall getting on the scoring. Logan Stankoven scored 2 in game 1. You got Brent Burns. You got Shane Gostisbehere. I mean, you got Seth Jarvis scoring. Andrei Svechnikov. He's not a depth guy, but he got 5 goals in 5 games, which I think right now is tied or in the top 3 there. And how about Frederik Andersen? Despite getting knocked out of game 4, you're looking at a goalie who's 3-1, because he did pick up the win from that game even though he left early, like a 1.5 goals against, a 930 something save percentage. Like, the last time he was even in that realm of those numbers was the 15-16 playoff with the Ducks, and that was 5 games. So I think that's just what the goaltending's been really solid. Special teams have been clicking at the right time, because like I said, we've talked about it. It's cliche, but it's true though. If that's rolling, you're good, and you're getting scoring up and down the lineup. It's depth guys, and it's even the big boys that are stepping up too. Like, even Seth Jarvis, 5 points in 5 games, does it so quietly it's no big deal. And he also scored a power play goal. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Logan Stankoven had a goal, I believe, in the series too. So, I mean, there's more
2
depth.
of them in game 1. 2 goals in game 1, yep.
Right, and he's shown to be a guy that's been able to step up in the playoffs too in Dallas last season as well. So we know what he can bring. Chris, what about you for storylines going into this? You mentioned the physicality that was throughout that series. That's going to be probably big in this one too. Hurricanes, I mean, they can play a lot of different styles, it seems like. Brendan Moore, it seems like he can coach a lot of different ones against different teams. So what storylines for you are going into this one?
I think the physicality is important. One of the ones I wrote down, I'm glad that Zach here mentioned Freddie Anderson's stats because I have his Carolina battle tested yet for round 2. We know that they've been around the playoffs for a long time, so it's not a question of like whether or not the team as a whole is able to withstand playoffs. Like we know that they are, but this specific Carolina team, I didn't particularly think New Jersey was that good. I watched them in and around most of the year. They struggled to kind of get things going in March and April. And while I think they battled like just about anybody would without Jack Hughes, I kind of just think they had no swagger. They had no spark. And I wonder what that does. It might not matter. Carolina might skate onto that ice, see that Capital jersey across the rink, and it's go like it was a decade ago when it was an intense rivalry. So that's one of my storylines. My other one is controlling the home ice. If you control the home ice, you control the series. Caps have the home ice advantage. They were 2-0 at Capital One Arena. On the flip side, they were 0-2 in Carolina this season. So, I think that's going to go a long way to the outcome of the series if somebody can win on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these playoffs, it's been a bit of a home series for a lot of the teams. Home teams have won a lot of games. And we'll see if that kind of holds true in this series. Washington does have home ice because they won the Eastern Conference. So they do have home ice unless they meet the Jets in the Stanley Cup final. That's the only time they won't get it. But we'll see how that goes. And just of note, Capitals PK wasn't very good against the Canadiens. So I mean,
yeah, left a little to be desired. As did the decision making, with the penalties. I think it also is worth noting when they played this year, it was a little weird. They played in early November, a 4-2 loss in Carolina. Then they played again, and I believe it was after Ovi was hurt. I could have my dates mixed up. It was December 20th. So it's either right around when he was hurt or there have you. And then right before Ovechkin broke the record, he scored 892. It was a 5-1 loss. But Ovechkin scored, so nobody really cared that he lost. And then the day after, or 3 days after he broke the record, was the next game. It was the 5-4 shootout win where they clinched the top seed in the East. So when they seemed to match up with Carolina was very weird throughout the season. But I don't think that's going to have a massive impact on the series. I just thought it was a little notable.
For sure. Speaking of, let's talk about some players to watch now. I mean, in the first round, the Capitals had quite a few of their stars step up. Alex Ovechkin, of course, he was really, I'd say some games he wasn't really noticeable, but then all of a sudden he scores a goal. So they're like, that's just what he is. These big players, they're like, oh, they're shut down. All of a sudden they score the game winner. That's just how it goes sometimes. And he scored quite a few goals in the first round. He had a couple. Then you're looking at Dylan Strome. He's one of the top guys in the points race right now in the playoffs with 9 points. So, I mean, some other big guys are going. Who are you watching in this series? Is this those stars, or you're looking more down the line in the depth category?
Yeah, it's absolutely the stars that you mentioned. But, I mean, there's other players here that you hit the two that I kind of had highlighted with Strome. He leads the Caps with 9 points, 2 goals with 7 assists. And then, he really does drive that offense, which is surprising for a player that was essentially cast out of Chicago and then ended up becoming a top line center in the league next to Alex Ovechkin. So, you got to watch out for Ovi on that power play. The Caps are going to try to get him the puck. He had 2 power play goals in the series against Montreal. I love you, Zach. I don't exactly think you're gonna. The Canes are gonna go perfect on the PK again in the series, but hey, I mean, it may happen. Who knows? But I think that's definitely an important one. Tom Wilson. We kind of mentioned on him, but just his ability to control the game. I wish I had the exact quote, but Ovi basically was like he felt the momentum of the game change in Game 4 after that big hit. Washington comes back, ties it, and then wins it. So, and then they walk in Game 5. So it's one of those things that this team seems to follow whatever he does. So the question is, can he play on that edge, but not enough to fight somebody inside the bench like he did? So it's a little give and take with Tom Wilson there. And then the other one that I have notable is Jacob Chikrin. 2 goals from the blue line. Only had the assist, which I was a little surprised. I thought he was a little more involved in the offense. So a lot of what I would consider tertiary assists, not getting that secondary there. So I think he's somebody to watch out for. I think if the Caps get another 2 goals from him in the series against Carolina, they'd be quite pleased. So there's a couple guys I have my eyes on.
Yeah, Chikrin, I thought he was a bit more involved too. Didn't have a lot of points, but he was stepping up in the play. He was jumping up there. He's probably closer to what he was in Arizona. I'd say probably better. When he was one of the big names where everyone wanted him. In Ottawa, a little bit of struggles, although he did put up quite a few points. I think defensively he wasn't that good, but that could be systems too. I mean, you never know what it is, what teams and how they kind of deal with it. But we'll see how he does in this series. All right, looking at the Hurricanes, Zach, I mean, their scoring was quite spread out in the first round. When you're looking at, like you said, about the depth. Svechnikov led the way with 5 goals with that hat trick that you mentioned. Sebastian Aho with 3. You got Seth Jarvis with a couple. Stankoven with a couple. The defense got involved too with Brent Burns, Jalen Chatfield. I mean, he had a goal too. Jackson Blake. I mean, you're looking at some of these guys, and Blake had 3 goals in the season series too. So he could be a guy. Who are you watching? I mean, there's a lot of guys, and I know you mentioned a few of them in the journey part too. So, who do you have your eyes on?
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Who do you pick on this team? I think that's the one thing that's really beneficial for the Canes is this is the most healthiest group they've had going into the playoffs for the last few years. Like to the point where it's like, okay, do you keep Jack Roslovic who scored 22 goals as a healthy scratch to bring in Mark Jankowski, who's scored 8 goals in Carolina, where he scored 4 in Nashville the same year, and he's 6'4". And then you have like Eric Robinson had a career year. You have like the defense who like you're getting scoring from everyone. Like even Jacob Slavin scored a wonder goal, short side on Markstrom, like in the most tightest of holes ever. That's the crazy part of this Canes team is like if everyone's rolling, you can get it pretty much anywhere. But like I think the one guy that definitely needs to be talked about is Shane Gostisbehere. Got a goal and 3 assists, power play quarterback for PP1. Someone who Carolina brought in to be that guy, and he really showed that like, even this year, like he's played a lot of third deep pair minutes, but he's been the guy who's been stepping up in a lot of big moments. I think that's someone who's, you talk about Chicker, you talk about all these guys on the Capitals defense who can't score. Well, Shane Gostisbehere is just right up there too. Like he's one of those guys who is always usually somewhere in the top echelons of guys who are going to put up points and put up goals for defensemen. So he's definitely someone to watch. I mean, you talked about him, Jackson Blake, just a quiet first round, scored a big goal. He also put up, he puts up 3 assists, quiet 4 points in 5 games. And this is his first ever playoffs as a rookie, which is insane. And the fact that like everyone talked about all the rookie year for Calder and all that, but he was top 7 in goal scoring. Like he got 17 goals in his rookie season. Like that's insane to think about for a guy like Jackson Blake. That's even with a 22 game goalless streak that he had at one point, and still finished with almost 20 in his rookie year. I mean, that's why he was a Hobey Baker finalist in North Dakota with 60 points. That's someone who's very overlooked. Yeah, you can talk about Aho. I mean, it's Sebastian Aho, 8 points in 5 games. That's kind of like death taxes. He's going to be there. Same thing for Svech. Same thing for Jarvie. I mean, like I said, the big boys, they needed to do their thing. They took over, and that's what they did. But I think another guy that when you look at who's going to be able, all right, you look at the Capitals. Like you got Strome, you got Ovi, you got PLD, you got insert, I think it's Protois. I think that's how you pronounce his name, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Close enough. Yeah.
Protus. I'm
Protus. Okay. Yeah. I've heard it like 3 different ways, but if there's a guy that you need to look at to like shut them down, whether it's penalty kill 5-on-5, Jacob Slavin. I mean, the best defensive defenseman in the NHL, which it's kind of a shame that he's not up for the Lady Bing, but that's a different conversation for another time. But he's a guy that you're going to look at who's going to shut down the big guys because that's what he's known for. And that you can even look at the Martin Stahl. same guys. You know, they put up points, but they're known as the shutdown guys.
Mm-hmm.
So there's while the Hurricanes did score a lot of goals in this series, and they kind of shut down the Devils outside of that weird Game 5 where they scored like 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. They come to I think 1 goal each in games 1 and 2. They scored 3 in Game 3. I think they scored 2 in Game 4. And that 4 was the most they had, and that was in Game 5, where the Hurricanes came back twice. So, I mean, they pretty, I think with the fact of how this defense is, I think you look at Slavin, you look at Ghost, you look at Blake, those guys are ones to watch outside of the usual suspects of, Jarvis, Fetch, and Aho are going to be just putting up points upon points upon points for the Canes.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I think the Hurricanes have. I mean, the Hurricanes and Capitals actually have quite a bit of depth together as a team. So it's going to be interesting to see who has more, maybe, as they're looking at it.
Yeah.
And Alexi Protas coming back in Game 5 there, that was big. He was a huge part of the team. I think I said Elio Protas. That's his brother. He's also in the Capitals.
He's there. For me, though, the guy who's really surprised this year was PLD. Who thought Dubois was going to come out of nowhere and do what he did? Because you looked at what he did in LA and Winnipeg and Columbus, and then it's all right, he's going to the Capitals, and you're like, something about Washington unlocked him up. So, yeah, that's kind of another guy I'm like, oof. You thought you got Strome. Well, now you got PLD backing him up as that 2C. Yeah.
He
gotta give some props.
Too. He was quiet in the first round. So you're like, yeah, you don't want to see if he might be able to catch fire too. So we'll see.
You never know. Somehow the playoffs, bring it out of some guys. So I guess we'll see. But you gotta give him some props for the season he had, though. So
for sure, yeah. And he's gone through a couple teams in the last bit, so it seems to have found him here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do our quick fire round now. And instead of a keys to victory, I'm going to do this question. Chris, I'll start with you. The Capitals will win this series if?
The Capitals will win this series if they can score more goals. Now, I know that's counterintuitive. Hear me out. Washington averaged 3.6 goals per game in the series against Montreal. Carolina allowed 2.20 goals against to New Jersey. So Carolina enters allowing only 2.5 goals a game. I personally, and I'm on record saying I don't think Jersey's attack was good. However, I don't know Washington's attack is so good that they're going to average 4 goals a game against what's a really talented Carolina squad. So honestly, if they can sit in and around that number of 3 goals a game, I think the Capitals will win the series if it's a defensive battle. That's not assuming that there's not one of those squarely 8-7 games, 7-4 with 2 empty net goals like we saw last night. Those things will inflate the score. But I think if it's a close series, I think 3, maybe 4 goals generally should get it done in each of these games for either squad.
Sure. I mean, and you're looking at, the playoffs seems to be weird. I mean, the Kings Oilers series, that I don't know.
I thought it was the Kings year. I definitely thought it was the Kings.
I did too. I thought they were going to as well, but I guess not.
I don't get it. I don't understand that. I don't know. I think Kings fans are probably the same thing. We can't beat the Oilers, but
we just lost every single Kings fan that was watching this too.
It's basically the Oilers are like their Freddie Krueger. It's a reoccurring dream of no, not again.
All right, Zach, for the Hurricanes will win this series if?
The Hurricanes will win the series if goaltending is just as good as it was in round 1. Yeah, the power play is doing well. The PK is doing great. Freddie did get injured, but he did practice on Friday with the team, and he was in the Stars crease. Of course, take that as you will for a random practice on a Friday, where we still don't know when the round even starts. So who knows when game 1 is, but the extra rest is going to help. So if Freddie comes back and if he's 100% ready to go, if he plays like how he did in the first 3.5 games, even when he got knocked out, they were winning 3-1 when he got knocked out in game 4. And like I said, game 3 was 3-2 in double overtime. So it's not like Freddie was a sieve. he was like I said, his goals against is a 1.5.
Yeah,
that's pretty good, especially for the playoffs. And I will say, like, I'm with you, Chris. Like, it's like New Jersey's like, I don't know, but still, they still have some guys there. But it's if the goaltending is just as good as it was, or relatively within that realm of round one, I think that's gonna be the big thing for the Canes. Is the fact that we know the Canes can score. They defensively can shut down the other team as long as they're playing their style for a full 60 minutes and not having a lapse or a very slow start like in game 5 where you allow 3 goals in 10 minutes. If you do that, here's 1 goal, here's maybe 2 goals, and that's it. But as long as the goaltending is top notch like it was in round 1, where you give up basically like 4 goals in 3 games, and I think it was 5 in about 3.5. I think you're looking pretty good in terms of that. So if goaltending is just as good as it was, I think the Hurricanes would win this series as long as everything else does what it usually does.
For sure. I mean, the goal could become a goaltending duel. I mean, Logan Thompson was really good in the first round.
I was surprised he came back. Like after getting ran, I'm like,
same.
That looked rough. And the fact that he came back next game, I'm like, goalies are weird and they are definitely built different. That's for sure.
It's true.
Logan Thompson's unreal. So yeah, if it's Thompson and Anderson, I could definitely see both these guys stealing games from both sides, home, road. Yeah, if it's a goalie battle like we saw in the Eastern Conference Final with Carolina and Florida with Bob and Freddie, where it was all 1-goal games, I could definitely see that being the same case again, where it's 3 overtime, 3 games in overtime and a bunch of 1-goal thrillers. Yeah, I could definitely see that being for this series if goaltending is elite on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what happens there. All right, quickly, let's go to and talk about some X factors in this series. We've mentioned a lot of players already here. Could also be special teams. Zach, what's an X factor for you for the Hurricanes in this one?
Andrei Svechnikov, for me, if he plays that same level like he did in round 1 in this one, because we've been waiting for him to break out all season. Saw time on first line, second line, third line. He even saw fourth line minutes, and you're kind of waiting for him to get rolling, and then boom, breaks out in game 4 for the hat trick. Scores the game tire to make it 3-3 in game 5. Like, he's up there in terms of goals. If you take us to that next level, if you give us that next gear, then we go up another level too, because that's a power forward you want rolling. If Andre can do that, then you're really setting yourself up to have a power forward who's just with a hot stick at the right time. So for me, that's an X factor. Is if you get Andre going again, then you're setting yourself up to be really good. And Jackson Blake, he was a Capitals killer in the regular season. Keeps that up too. Hey, you'll love to see it as well. So there's some sneaky X factors that could be doing stuff. And don't forget Taylor Hall, contract bump, just got an extension. Get that extension, get the juices flowing for him. So I would say watch out for Taylor Hall too, because he's going to be playing with some extra juice after knowing he's sticking around in Carolina for another 3 seasons.
Sure, that was a big signing. I think he's been a very underrated addition to the team.
3.16 for the next 3 years. Like, thank you very much. That what a steal! But what a steal of just a signing. Fantastic.
All right, Chris, what about you for X factors for the Capitals?
X factors for the Capitals. We touched on Tom Wilson already, so he's originally who I had. So we're going to pivot to somebody we haven't mentioned yet, Connor McMichael. 5 points against the Canadiens at a 57-point campaign. It was up 15, 20 points or so from last season, which was up from the season before. So he's definitely on an upward trajectory. He brings a little bit of everything to the Capitals lineup. So he's somebody to kind of keep an eye on in that depth scoring that you mentioned. And then there's no way that you're going to have a Capitals playoff series without Alex Ovechkin as an X factor.
No.
The generational scorer of that, if you shut him down, it's going to go a long way to winning the series. But if you can't shut him down, there's going to be a long way going towards you shaking hands and not being happy about it at the end of the day.
Sure. And the thing is, I said in the first round too, that the Capitals aren't just Ovechkin anymore too, which is, I mean, that's a big difference in their team. And you mentioned Connor McMichael. He was really good in the first round. I think I noticed him every game. Like I watched that whole series, and I don't think there was a game where I didn't hear his name. So
McMichael is why I didn't notice PLD, because McMichael was so good that Pierre-Luc Dubois was just able to do his thing. And honestly, it wasn't overly good. It wasn't overly bad, but it helped shut down the Canadians, and it was an important part of what Spencer Carberry's club was looking to do against Montreal.
Sure, and we'll see how that plays out in this series. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting one. So let's get to our final predictions then. Zach, what are you going with? How many games? Who's winning this one going to the Eastern Conference Final?
Yeah, which fan base am I going to upset tonight? That's the main question. Who am I going to upset? Well, obviously, I'm not going to upset my fan base. That speaking, I would love to say Canes in 6 just to be like, hey, we're going to go steal one. But honestly, the minute I knew this series was announced, automatically, Canes in 7. If it's 6, hey, you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
But for me, these two teams are so great. I know the Hurricanes had them 2-1-1 in the regular season series, but you know what they say about regular season going into the playoffs? Yeah, throw it out. Doesn't matter. No one cares about what you did in the regular season. How do you do in phase 2 of this calendar season, what we have? What can you do in the second part? Doesn't matter what you did in the first part. So for me, I like to say Canes in 6, but realistically, Canes in 7, just because I know both these teams are going to just duke it out. And I can't believe this is a this is like a semifinal matchup and not a Eastern Conference final matchup. It was 1v8. That would have been. This is an Eastern Conference final showdown, not semis. But yeah, for me, Canes in 7.
All right, Chris, what are you going? Is it 7? Who are you going with in this one?
I don't have 7. I got Capitals in 6. I think it definitely could go 7. I think they do steal one at Lenovo Center down there in Raleigh. Probably an overtime victory. Ovechkin had one OT goal, so let's not count our chickens on that one because he had never.
I mean, hey, the Hurricanes were 131 games at home, and they are 3-0 in the playoffs so far at home. So
apparently, streaks are made to be broken.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. Hey, you know what though? I think the last time we met up with you guys was that's right, double OT game 7. Thank you, Brock McGinn. So
Carolina also has the only series victory, a 7-game series victory over the Caps. So you can gloat about that one. But I will say one of the things that I have for bold predictions was Alex Ovechkin. He has 10 goals in 13 games against Freddie. Mm-hmm. So that's a 0.769 goals per game. So he's going to score roughly a goal per game. In Carolina, though, Ovechkin is 0.695 goals per game. So he's still above more than a goal per game at Lenovo Center. So I think it really does hinge on his performance in this series against the Kings.
Yeah. No, sir. Yeah. No.
All right, we'll see what happens. Should be a fun series. I think it's going to be a tight one. I go 7 games. I don't know who's going to win.
Matt, you always go 7 games. You love 7 games.
I want 7-game series. I want game 7. That's what I'm so happy.
You even said that for the Canes and Devils preview. Give me 7. It's like.
Didn't happen.
You thrive on the chaos like this.
Hey! In Matt's defense, I had 7 in that series, but I also had the Devils in 7 because I didn't trust the Canes. So that got proved incredibly wrong. I at least had 7.
All right, PK Subban, let's see here.
Hey, they proved me wrong. I got to give credit because you know what? Honestly, they kicked the crap out of the Devils, even though it was a close series. At the end of the day, the Hurricanes did exactly what they needed to do: blow through town, take everything with it, and run to the second round.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, Chris, like going into that series, like everyone's like, "Oh, do you think the Habs are going to do it?" I'm like, there is no snowball chances in where that's going to happen. Yeah. I had Capitals in 5 or 6. Just like the Canadians might steal one. So yeah, feelings mutual. I knew the Caps are going to do it. Like, come on, let's be real.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I thought it was probably going to be that way too. It's just that, I mean, the Canadians, they put up a lot bigger of a fight than I thought. Like, I knew they were going to fight, but I didn't think it was going to be that close.
It wasn't the Washington Capitals of last year or 2 years ago where they got in and then just absolutely ran out of the building.
So different, yeah.
If the Canadians would have had any semblance of secondary scoring in that series, it would have been a whole lot more difficult against the Capitals.
For sure, yeah.
You had I think it was Lane Hudson had 5 points, Cole Caulfield had 4, and nobody else had more than 2.
Yeah. Well, it's their top line. That was I mean, their top.
You're not gonna win a series if you get no help whatsoever, and that's
same thing. Well, same thing for the Devils. Yeah, if they had Jack, that whole series is completely different. And if basically their entire defense was held by duct tape and hopes and dreams, I mean that series could have been a whole lot different too. But that's
definitely something to know. They don't have that down guy yet.
Sure.
And I probably shouldn't even say it because it could be speaking out of turn. Is Reinbacher offensive or defensive? Like, I know he's a defenseman. Is he an offensive defenseman or a defensive defenseman?
It's more of a two-way guy. I think it's more
okay. So he's somebody I could at least see in that Slavin mold to help that. But right now, they've got their Quinn Hughes type guy with Hudson, but they don't have that shutdown guy that's going to really help them. Once they get that, watch out. Montreal's going to be a scary team.
Yeah. I think Reinbacher can become something like that, but we'll see. We'll see how that. They got, lots of time.
He was just the first name that came to mind when I thought
their cycle, right? So, and the Capitals are right in it. So we'll see. We'll see how this one goes and who's into the Eastern Conference Final. I
have one more name. We can't end this without mentioning Ryan Leonard.
Yeah,
Ryan Leonard was exceptional in that first round. He doesn't play a ton of minutes. He just got there, so he's learning the Capital system and whatnot. But he impressed me with his IQ. He impressed me with his body positioning, and that's definitely kind of one of those hidden X factors in this series. So I wanted to mention his name.
Yeah,
hidden X factor for the Hurricanes, Sean Walker.
Yeah, under the radar.
Did not get the points, weren't there. However, if you're watching these games, his name comes up a lot for his defensive style, paired up with Gostisbehere. Any team would love to have those two in their top or their second pair. The fact that their third D pair for the Canes tells you how deep this defense is. So Sean Walker, watch out for that guy.
I watched Walker for about 50 games in Philly last year. Before they traded him to Colorado. He was absolutely exceptional. And honestly, I credit that trade to Colorado for the reason Philly missed the playoffs, because they kind of lost their way after he left that room, and they never really got it back. So I think that was a big loss for the Flyers. I have a huge amount of respect for Sean Walker, so I actually really like that call.
I love Sean Walker, and for 5 years too. Yeah, we got 5 seasons of this guy at like 3.6. Another just like master class of just like, sure, thank you very much. We will gladly keep him for the next half decade.
There we go. So. All right. Well, this should be fun. We'll get that gets going in a few days here, or maybe a couple days. We'll see when.
Who knows, Matt? Eventually, we'll have games.
We'll see.
Eventually, we'll play some hockey somewhere.
Yeah. So make sure checking out everything at thehockeyguards.com for Chris and Zach's coverage throughout the series. Our recaps, our takeaways. If you've been following throughout the first round, we do that after every game. So make sure checking all that out as we keep going through the playoffs here as we march to the Stanley Cup final. But until our next preview, we will see you next time.